Hi, we're Rick and Carie Bernard with DR Missions in San Cristobal, Dominican Republic. Grace Covenant missionaries. We've been living in San Cristobal for nearly 13 years now. We started the Bread of Life feeding program about 10 years ago. We started an orphanage about 8 years ago. The first verse that God ever gave us when we come to the Dominican Republic was Psalm 78:7, that they might set their hope in Him. Every platform that we've built a ministry on is built on a relationship, that they might set their hope in God.
Many years ago, we saw our friends Pastor Juan Antonio and Maria. We were sitting with them on their patio, and every couple minutes, Maria would get up and she would go get some bread, and she would carry it across the patio. Finally, I said, "Maria, what are you doing?" And she said, "I'm feeding these children." And she looked at me and said, "What are you gonna do about it?" And it was one of those moments I thought, what am I gonna do about it? And you know, we went home that night and we prayed about it, and we really felt like it was God's invitation for us to start this feeding program. And so that's when we started the Bread of Life.
So each year we try to increase the number of kids that's in our program. We're currently feeding 50 to 100 kids per day, depending on the time of the year, that's coming in and receiving that hot meal. But way more than a hot meal, they're receiving spiritual education through teaching, equipping, just they're experiencing love. Our heart is that we're gonna it's a holistic ministry in the way that it's not just that hot meal, but we want to physically meet their needs through medical outreaches. We want to spiritually meet their needs through showing them the hope of God. Another ministry that we have is what we call the refugee area. And what had happened many years ago, we was driving by there and noticed that it was an area that had just flooded, and there was clothes hanging on every line you could imagine, and people out, and it was just a really difficult time for them. And so we stopped by and just to kind of see what was going on, and they come up to us and they was almost hostile, saying, "What are you going to do? How are you going to help us?" And it seemed as though they thought we was government or something. We're like, hey, we're just coming in to pray. And so just a couple minutes in, we was out again. And then the next week we go in and visit for a couple minutes again and be out again. And then 2 minutes went to 5 and 5 minutes went to 10. And so for years we'd just go by and our family would go by and we'd begin to pray with them, and we started making friends with them. And then after maybe just a few short years, we'd take a team in there and wanted to begin to meet some of their practical needs. And so we'd do some wellness clinics with them and begin to meet some of their medical needs, and then we'd always pray for them. And as we continue to see fruits of that ministry, that continue to grow. And now we just really feel like we've got tons of God's favor in that area.
A couple of the girls that were in the children's feeding program were walking at night, and were walking long distance, and they were finding Pastor Juan Antonio and Maria's apartment.
At 5 or 6 years old at night.
Yeah, at 5 or 6 years old, and they were looking for some place to sleep. And again, we knew that was, the Lord's invitation to start an orphanage. It wasn't something we had ever thought of or dreamed of doing before, but we really felt that was God inviting us to participate in that ministry, and that was probably eight years ago to do that. The multi-purpose building that I'm standing on now, we had no idea. We were using as a feeding center, and that's all we knew that God had told us at that time to use. And later on did He give me a vision of building some apartments here. We would have the girls that graduate from high school, and once they graduate from high school, they would come in to the apartments and live here when they go to college. It's for equipping them for society. And so whatever that may look like for these girls, the transition from the house to past the gate is what it is. But it will also open up a bed in the main house that we can allow younger girls to come in to the big house. So it's a twofold vision.
Ideally, we'd want to set up about 8 different apartments. Each apartment would be either 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom. It'd have a small hall. It'd have its own kitchen and own bathroom in each unit.